Well, howdy there, partners. Welcome back to another replay review video. Wow. Today we have Seikoo. You know him. You love him, maybe. I don't know. He's French. He's won a world championship. He made back-to-back world championship grand finals. Got an awesome little mustache. Him and his girlfriend, at least at the time, wore matching outfits to World Championship in Texas. Little nugget for you guys. But why in the world are we talking about Seikoo? Well, I feel like Seikoo is a player who has a lot to prove next season, even though he has some awesome accolades. He's going to be teaming, at least reportedly. It's not official, but you know how this goes. It's most likely official. He's going to be teaming with Itachi and Juicy, if I recall correctly. And I think when talking about Seikoo in the present, and future, for that matter, it's important to talk about Seikoo in the past, because as we're about to see him get a sick pass into a goal here. But Seikoo is a player who really has had ebbs and flows in how the community looks at him, especially in such a short career. I mean, we've only seen him really for 2 seasons, and when Seikoo hit the scene, he was in many ways a precursor to the success that Zen saw late last season. When he first joined Endpoint, he took this middling team way beyond expectations. He comes out in his first event ever. He has the highest goals per game of any player in the European Open. And then he progresses to take Metzenaris and Relating Wave to back-to-back majors before deciding to join BDS and win a world championship. And in his first season as a pro, Seikoo won a world title, which is just crazy. And we all seem to assume this was the first step in a young career. And last season, I mean, BDS's struggles were very well documented. They missed back-to-back majors. They ended up dropping extra, picking up Rise. And, you know, Seikoo, at least statistically, and, well, that's not even fair. Via statistics and at least via my own eye test, took a pretty substantial step back from where we saw him previously. Which, I mean, obviously, it's like coming out and your first album is it's like Olivia Rodrigo. You know, this is something that all of you guys will understand and get. You know, has this great first album, and then it's like, how on earth do you possibly follow that up? And there's definitely musicians that would be more apt to my own liking, but you know, my partner's been listening to, she's had a lot of Olivia Rodrigo on, so I got it on the brain. But you know, Sour is this great album, and then how do you follow it up? It's so nerve-wracking, and that's kind of Seikoo. That's right, guys. Seikoo is Olivia Rodrigo, and the fact that, you know, a big part of why BDS struggled, what a gross double touch that was by Seikoo, but a big reason why BDS struggled was Seikoo's shooting woes. I mean, he shot a pretty awful 20.54% last season. That's near the bottom of top players. His goal participation dropped pretty substantially, and you know, some of those numbers are mired by how poor BDS looked there for a while. And you know, there was a point in time everyone had opinions of Seikoo, and mine was that BDS should consider trading him heading into last spring season, before they ultimately decided to put extra on the bench. But you know, with all that being said, like, I thought they should you know, drop him, but he is still somebody who is, you know, has made it to back-to-back world championship finals, and he took a trophy home in one of those 2 times. So, you know, where do you put Seikoo in the grand scheme of things? I mean, at his worst, he was a part of a losing equation that was rooted less in skill deficiencies, but more in, you know, mental fortitude or lack thereof. And at his best, he was, at one point in time, emphatically the best player in the world. This framework kind of makes it feel like Seikoo isn't a top talent, like it's all this like negative talk that I'm giving about him. But even when I thought BDS should move him, it was less about his talent and more about the team dynamic needing to shift. From all accounts, I mean, Seikoo seems like he's an awesome teammate. Stumpy had made this video back in the day about when Seikoo had joined Endpoint, and just, you know, they started popping off. And Metsunaris had commented something that separated Seikoo from the other players that they had tried out was just his instantaneous ability to mesh himself with, you know, with Metsunaris and relating wave. I mean, he was a jovial, funny dude, and he even had their coach at the time, Eclipse, just, you know, gushing about him as a player. And I don't think any of that changed with BDS. And I'm going to project a little bit here and just talk about some things that I feel like might have been a piece of the pie in Seikoo's, you know, kind of diminished second full season in the RLCS. First and foremost, Endpoint fully empowering Seikoo. It was the Seikoo show. It was, you know, akin to, you know, the Luka Doncic Mavericks, where it's just like, you got this, you know, this is all you, man. We'll give you the ball, we'll get out of your way, we'll facilitate for you. And, you know, that almost makes it seem like, you know, Seikoo wasn't a willing teammate, which is totally not the case. But just as far as usage, goal participation, things like that, it was the Seikoo show. This is where we see these just super consistent double touches that he came to be known for. Just, you know, super fast in transition, these very precise, you know, bulleted shots, as he almost gets a really nifty assist here to beat the defense. But oh, and real quick before we keep going on that, we're playing against the Falcons. Oh, thanks, Belair. I didn't see that was the Falcons on the other end. This is from the World Championship, by the way. But anyways, I think the empowerment of Seikoo on Endpoint is certainly a piece of the pie, right? Coming to BDS, totally different situation. Monkey Moon, oh jeez, Monkey Moon, as most of us know him, but you know, the true fans call him Monkey Moon. But you know, one of the best players in the world, still is. And you don't come into a situation where, you know, BDS were the best team in Europe for, you know, basically all of that offline pandemic era. And then, you know, they drop Mark. You don't come on to BDS and expect to have the same role where it's just, hey, you got this. We're going to totally give you the keys of the car here. He had to mesh. And, you know, as we saw, he meshed very well. They won that world championship. But that brings me to another point, which is not only is it a different situation as Rise is just in exactly where he needs to be, to get this out in transition, something we see from Rise all the time. But I think another big element is this idea of finding success and perhaps too much success too early. This is certainly projecting, but you know, if I think about myself and my past, you know, sometimes it's nice to have to struggle a little bit or figure some things out. For things to have the weight and gravity that they probably should have. And Seikoo, you know, the best, you know, situation you can find yourself in, he wins everything his first season, and everyone tells him he's one of the best. You know, he was arguably one of the better players in the world when they won that world championship on BDS as well as that Endpoint roster. So to go from being the best on a team that didn't really have high expectations, and clearly you are the biggest contributing factor to that success, and then one of the best teams in the world decides to pick you up and, you know, believe in you in that way, and then you go and win a world championship. I just wonder if maybe those kind of instantaneous great results impacted the will and might of Seikoo looking to get better, because, you know, a big part of it was definitely mental with BDS. You know, Monkey Moon's specific, you know, turmoil has been talked about ad nauseum, and I don't really have any strong opinions on that outside of what's already been said. But you know, another part of that has to fall to Extra and Seikoo, as he's going to take a really smart couple of touches here. Monkey Moon upfield, going to be able to put one in easily. But, you know, I think part of that has to be on Seikoo, especially when you think about the statistical added little element of it. Like, absolutely atrocious shooting, a lot of, misses in big moments and stuff like that, a lot of crossbar and out. That's not really, that is mental in a big way, but it's also, it could be due to lack of, you know, going about your play the same way that you had previously. And I'm not trying to say that Seikoo, stopped playing or, doesn't care about the game or anything like that. I definitely don't think that's the case, but I just think these are all little elements that led to the dip in performance that we saw from Seikoo. One thing that did not get worse was his assists per game. Seikoo, I went and looked at his stats. It's just what an incredible goal line back-to-back saves there in a critical moment, but on the biggest stage nonetheless. But if you go and look at Seikoo's events, if you then filter by assists, all of his best assisted events have been with BDS. They were spring, when they had picked him up going into the World Championship last season, and all of this season. So he has definitely stepped up his, playmaking ability. And it was when I was watching Stizzy earlier, a couple videos back, there was a game that they played against BDS, and you can just tell that the defense, anytime Seikoo is on the ball, he still gets so much respect. So being able to, combine your shooting ability and your ability to pass the ball makes you just an awesome candidate on the offensive end. And I think that that's going to be a big reason why he's going to find success and bounce back next season. He's alongside Itachi, who is a great teammate. He's alongside Juicy. All three of them are players who have chips on their shoulders, and I think that Seikoo is going to be a big part of why this team is going to really surprise some people next season. So I talked myself a little bit past the video here. I'm going to go ahead and call it. What do you guys think about Seikoo? Do you think that he's going to have a bounce back season here, or do you think that his best days are behind him and the results were because he was on awesome BDS rosters? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. Later.